I request the audience to kindly please put your phones on silent. Good morning, friends. Let me welcome you to a book whose subtitle is fascinating, for it talks of sugar canes and canes. This is a book of anecdote, memory, and experience by one of the most famous educationists and columnist of Doon. The chair of the session is Sandhya Awasthi, an eminent educationist connected with the DPS institution. She has been the author's colleague and has seen his personality evolve over the years. In conversation with the author is author, educator, WOW associate Ratna Manucha, who is a very serious and critical reader of books. We welcome you, ma'am, sir.
Good morning, Dehradun. How are we? Good. And so today I'm supposed to open the book and talk about it. So before I talk about the book, I think it is only right that I speak about the author. And I think this book is an outcome of whatever's been happening or how life meets Mr. Kain. So then we'll have to talk about the head, the heart, and talk about the art. Because it is the head that leads the heart, and he's the only person who's all heart, but his head brooks no nonsense. So even though he calls me his friend, but I have to be always the good Sandhya. Because the moment I decide to be the otherwise, then out comes the whip. Though, the cane, yes, the cane. And so therefore, people around him have to be extremely sweet because that's the sugar cane that he meets. So in the book, one of the things, Mr. Kain, that whenever I've read anything that you've written, be it your blogs or your newspaper articles or your book, in each one of them, I always feel a deep sense of living in the past or nostalgia. But then I start thinking about, am I nostalgic or are you writing out of nostalgia? But the profoundness, the HD quality picture that I see, the absolutely surround sound that I hear, it's not nostalgia when you're writing. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I feel that you actually live in the past when you're writing it. And so therefore, every human voice that is heard is absolutely clear. And when I'm reading it, I'm actually in it. So I've been with him to Bhopal, to Jaipur, to Ahmedabad, to Dubai, to Dehradun. And each one of them, and though I don't know whether it is his craft that makes me feel absolutely nostalgic. And every time that I keep the book down, it's difficult leaving that world that he's spun. So that I think I am a prolific reader. And I know that though my command over the language may be whatever, I'm an English teacher also, but not everybody can write. Because writing requires more than felicity of words. It requires you to feel the moment and live in the moment and forever, ever be in the moment throughout the book. You will see accomplishments. He's a very accomplished person. Everywhere he has been, the school and the town, and I'm speaking from first-hand experience, have always quoted Mr. Kain as if their life depended on it. So Mr. Kain, what is then this entire art of your being in the past, inhabited? So how do you, 15 years, 50 years down the line, how do you remember in such crystal clear details?
First of all, I'd like to thank Sandhya, and I'd like to thank Ratna, especially Sandhya, because she's taken the trouble to come all the way from Delhi, and she's here for my book launch, and then she goes back immediately to Delhi because she's got to attend the wedding, which even I was supposed to attend, but which I'm not able to do so. Thank you very much for coming here. And thank you, Ratna. She's a neighbor of mine at Dalanwala, and again, a very well-known person. Now, coming back to the question whether I live in the past or not, I have no alternative in the sense that I'm trained in history. History has been my bread, butter, and jam. And I peddle facts. I peddled facts for a living. And now, since teaching has left me and I have moved on, I peddle facts for retirement. So I have no option but to live in the past. I'm not a fiction writer. I'm not a scientist. I don't think about the future. I think so it's quite futile to do so. But what I know very well, and I know for certainty, is my past. So I go into my past. Luckily for me, my past has been very good. It's been a happy past, save a blink here or there. And I draw sustenance to it. And I think it's quite a fallacy to think that people don't live in the past. I think so everybody lives in the past. You can't take the past out of you. Past is very much like growing up. It becomes a part of your body politic. So you can't have a Mr. Kain who is, let us say, 68 years of age without having him of 67.9 months of his day. That's me. That's the past that you're talking. I can't talk about my future. Neither can you. No matter how much we may say that we want to do this and we want to do this, life has taught me that life does not come in packages. It does not come in a system. Neither it is 2 multiplied by 2 is equal to 4. It is something that will happen. So you should be prepared to tackle that. Until you're waiting for what to happen, I think so what I do is I look into the past, which is very beautiful past.
So what made you, what made you write your memoir? Actually, it's not so much as a memoir, but more about snippets of people who you encountered as you walked along life's path and who impacted you in some form or the other, some positive, mostly positive, some even negative. So what made you write this book? You could have written on fiction or you could have written a story, but you chose people who impacted you. So what was there behind your mind, you know, when you started writing it?
Yeah. You know, in our school system, or in our educational system by and large, I think there's a great mystique about principals and teachers. The mystique being that principals and teachers are different from, let us say, those who are not teachers and all. You know, they're supposed to be very moralistic, they're supposed to be very truthful, they're supposed to be very knowledgeable. Then they're not supposed to look after how they look. They're not attracted to the opposite sex, for example. They're like gods. It doesn't happen like that in life. And I never came across a memoir of any educationist which was very honestly open about the fact that principals also do drink. I mean, sometimes principals have also had their love affairs. Principals also have had misdemeanors. Principals are just like you and me, except that we are supposed to know a system much better. So I thought it was time to tell this story so that the mystique does not remain, because there's no advantage of the mystique. We've gone past that age in which a mystery should surround a workforce. No, if they know me very well, they know me better, they know how to deal with me, they know that I'm a very rational man, they know that I'm a very, very a professional, they know if I'm superstitious, they know I'm superstitious. So I think that is what made me write about my life and about the very challenging job that is that of an educationist and that of a principal. There's everything. There are death that comes in the life of a principal. There are gheraos that come in the life of a principal. There's political pressure that comes in the life of a principal. There are illnesses which come in the life of a principal. There are broken relationships that take place in a principal's life. The principal has a wife, he has children. There are challenges of rearing up the family. There are challenges of adjusting to a particular new scenario. So we are very normal people, but it is not written. I could not lay my hand on that. And some of you just write about the books, about schools and all that. But I wanted to make it a memoir about individuals, and through the individuals, I tried to put out as to how the life of a principal or an educationist is the life of anybody else. It is a normal life, which is a very fun-loving life. The principals are not supposed to be staying in ivory towers. So that is what made me write the book. And I think so. It is something which required honesty, it required guts as well.
Yeah, so that's what I was wanting to know. Sorry. What I was wanting to know is, were you maintaining a diary all along? Unless you have an elephantine memory, it's very difficult to write down all the characteristics and all the points that you noted down about people and what you said to them. It's amazing.
No, you see, I used to write a blog. I wrote a blog. I still have a website. Some of you must read it, www.kulbhushankain.com. And I used to write a blog. I started writing the blog in the year 2006 or 2007. I've written more than 1,000 blogs. So I drew a lot of information from that. And then when the internet broke out, then I used to put down jottings on my Facebook page. I still write every day something on my Facebook page. Now, I don't write it to get publicity. I mean, say for publicity, I have other ways of doing it. Not everybody reads my posts, though I have a large following on Facebook. But I started writing everything every day, and sometimes when people used to say, "What are you doing? Why do you write on Facebook? You're the principal of a school." So I said, that's the precise reason, because when I write on a day-to-day basis, it's like a diary, it's like a digital diary. It's not a secret diary. Maybe a good question would be asked is there something you've not written? But since you've not asked me that question.
That is my question. I'm saving it up for the last, please.
So I'm privy to what you've not written, and I'm sure that there is a chapter or two that I would be reading some other time I have been okay and you deem it fit for me to read certain things. Though that intrigue still awaits another book, I'm sure. So if there are lions and there are tigers and there are all kinds of principles, Mr. Kain is the sher. And with his mane, as you would know, is very talked about. So his very carefully unkempt mane makes him the lion of all the principles. So let's begin, Mr. Kain. I'd like the audience to know, because your journey has been so inspiring as an educator, principal. Let's begin with that train journey out of Bhopal. And how did it impact you and the rest of your journey as a school leader?
Out of Bhopal or into Bhopal?
No, out of Bhopal when you're leaving after that infamous incident. And how did it add steel to you or more heart? How did it impact you further?
Yeah, I spent 6 years in Bhopal. And in the 6 years in Bhopal, I was hounded by the press. I was called, those days India used to celebrate its Independence Day on the 14th of August because school children would go and see the parade at the Red Fort on the 15th. So routes used to be blocked. So schools used to celebrate it on the 14th of August. And 15th we would give chutti and children were pushed in to hear the chief minister or the president or whatever it is. So when I celebrated it on the 14th, and all schools used to do it, in fact the home minister at that time was Indrajit Gupta at the center, and I knew Indrajit Gupta very well, and he was hoisting a flag at one of our schools in Delhi. So I wanted him to come, and he said, no, I am hoisting the school at the Bengali school at Raisina. So on 14th, Indrajit Gupta, the home minister, also raised the flag, because otherwise he was supposed to go and attend the 15th August. But when I raised the flag on the 14th in Bhopal, because it was very sensitive, I didn't take into account that. A semi-riot broke out. They called me a Pakistani agent. They said 14th of August is Pakistan's Independence Day. So how can you celebrate it? And the newspapers at that time, the local newspapers, the MP Chronicle, for example, the Jan Sandesh, Sandhya Prakash Evening, they did what they call the reverse. The writing not white, not black on white, but writing black on white, white on black. So they called it the reverse. So that struck. So immediately I started getting calls from all over, and the politicians got after me. I reached out to my brother. That's part of the first chapter of the book. And I reached out to my brother, who was a finance secretary at that time, a very senior IAS officer in Punjab Carter. So I told him, I said, Vijay, aise ho gaya. His first question was, but why did you celebrate it on the 14th of August? So, you know, a very typical bureaucrat answer. So I said, yeah, come on, give me a solution. Anyway, I found that it was difficult to work and the rail roko and all that. Then I decided to move out of Bhopal and I got a very good break in DPS. And that opened up an entirely new world to me, because from a small city, then I was able to go into big cities and into a very glamorous kind of a society where I was meeting people with a wider vision, and I was meeting people who were controlling schools, who were exposed to a lot much more than the railway unions and all. Not that I'm saying the railway unions didn't do their work. Their job was to make a noise. They did their work, but they didn't let me do my job, you see, which was to educate their children. So they did their job, but I could not do my job. And then I thought that I must move on. So it was a very fascinating journey, all that is chronicled. And then I stayed put in Delhi DPS and I came to meet
Okay,
you.
I'm changing the topic a little.
Sorry.
What's this fascination you have with hair? Because in one of the chapters, you have described our ex-president, Dr. Abdul Kalam Azad's hair in great minute detail, which I found very fascinating too. So, out with it.
Well, I found the president's hair very fascinating, and I
Yes.
was very up close to him, and I was sitting next to him at a stage in Ahmedabad, and I was looking at him, and I found that he had combed his hair down the center, and he put these two locks which formed a kind of a semicircle on his head, and so I kept looking at him, and he was conversing with me a little bit on and off, and I was wondering that how would a man like him have the time to so meticulously comb his hair like that? You know, because if you have met Kalam Saab and if you have seen him or seen photographs of him, it seems almost impossible to comb your hair like that. And there I was with my hair which was swept out and absolutely bindas
one
in the
extreme
sense
to the
that
other.
I never wanted to carry a comb in my pocket. And my father used to say, comb your hair. So I used to comb my hair when I was leaving the house. And then once I got into the school bus to come to St. Joseph's, and the principal used to say, why haven't you combed your hair? Because they used to say, don't carry a comb in your pocket in St. Joseph's those days. It was not, you're not supposed to carry combs in your pockets. That was a part of the culture of the school.
Oh, really?
So I used to say, ki slide there, sir, windswept ho gaya. But the moment I was to get it, I used to ruffle them. I never wanted to give the look of a very organized, it's not the way I am, it's even the way I dress up. I find people who are dressed very meticulously and very well combed hair somehow very difficult to tackle. They don't seem to be very
So that's Indu Didi
they
there,
don't seem
the,
to be very
the sister.
easy going.
Have you ruffled
Mr.
your hair
Kain.
today?
So Indu Didi is there, and I'm sure that she's wondering what was happening while she was in the same bus as him, and he turned up with his windswept hair. So, what's the role of all these wonderful women in your life? Your sisters, Sangeeta, some of us?
I think women have played a very, very important role in my life. I was brought up with 4 sisters, and each one of them is a go-getter. Indu is a bureaucrat. My other sister hardly stays in India. She's at the moment in Singapore and New York. My younger sister also is a bureaucrat, and my elder sister is a very accomplished businesswoman. So they all went to Convents of Jesus Mary, and they went, 2 of them went to the Mount Hermon School in Darjeeling. So I came from a very privileged background. And my mother was again a very liberal and a very go-getting man. So she was exposed to all the cultures of the societies that were there. So these women, they inspired me. I never felt, I find it so strange that people they can boss over women, because no way. I mean, I could never boss. I still can't. I still don't have my way with my wife. I mean, see, even for a small thing, if she puts a foot down, I can do nothing about it. I just have to hope like hell that she
See, we are
changes
very
her
courteous
mind.
and we will not contradict anything.
And it's the, I think so.
the way they're clapping.
I think the problem is that I'm very happy that women liberals are saying men and women should be equal. Oh, for heaven's sake, please. But I don't think men and women are equal. I
No,
think
no,
so
no,
women
no.
are
I
far
don't want to
superior to
be
men. So why do you want to come down to our level? That's the way I'm feeling. All the women, all the go-getters. My sister the other day, while I was coming, she was in Chandigarh, and she says, I told her something. I said, Kusum, she says, don't do. Just because I'm a go-getter, you are jealous of me. So I told her, I said, for heaven's sake, I've lived all my life with women who are accomplished. I've been with teachers. All the successful women who are running schools are all women. I said, so I have not seen very many men. So I have a
On the
fascination for
contrary,
women. I
when
admire
Mr.
them.
Kain would enter a room, no matter where all the women were, there was only one place they'd like to be, around Mr. Kain.
Because
Do you
he's a
remember
great
any of that? Because
storyteller.
that's not found its way in the memoir.
No,
Oh, and so, ladies and gentlemen, there's one personal anecdote, a chapter of whose memory is there in the book. And I'd like Mr. Kain to take us there. That's Dubai. I am in Dubai and I have this lovely Kain family. The son is back from Canada and I really want to go to their home because it's so wonderful. And after all, I can't go there every day because kya bolenge wo log bhi, roz aa jati hai ye. So I invariably, there used to be a fork, one which went to their home and one towards mine. And invariably before the fork, Mr. Kain would call and said, "Kahan pahunchi hai?" Then I would tell him and say, "Come over, I'm making a cup of tea." So that, this very beautiful personal space, your home in Dubai and your school. You set up a wonderful school in Dubai. So how challenging was it and how did you arrive at the decision to move to Dubai while you were doing so well in India?
Actually, here there's a bit of a, I wouldn't say critical. I was doing very well at DPS Ahmedabad, and Sangeeta was at that time a principal at Himjyoti here, and I was the principal at DPS Ahmedabad. And then Sangeeta, to get closer to me, all the women had sacrificed a lot for the men. It's not that I would have come as vice principal to Amity, leaving my principal to be closer to Sangeeta. So she said she's coming to Ahmedabad, to Delhi, as a vice principal of Amity School in Delhi. So from Delhi, when she said, and she's coming to Delhi, so the distance was there. We had never stayed away from each other. We still haven't. We haven't stayed away from each other at all. So, but those days were very difficult because I was alone there and she was alone there. So then we got a chance to go to Dubai together. And during one of the principals' conclaves at the Meridian Hotel, in fact, thanks to one of my good friends, Pramod Sharma, a very distinguished principal of Mayo College and well-known educationist, they were scouting for a principal and a director and a principal to start the school, Credence. So they asked Pramod, why don't you come and join us? So he says, I'm not free. So he said, can you suggest? Pramod very mischievously pointed at me while I was talking to somebody else. He says, go to Mr. Kain, he's Mr. Kain, and he wants to move. Very typical of Pramod. So these two guys came to me and they said, come. Now that's a long story as to how they roped me in and how they offered me fabulous amount of money. My son was studying in Canada, so I required a little bit more money. Not that I was very poor and things like that, but it just would have made my life far more luxurious. Travel would be easier, coming and going. Time distances between Dubai and Halifax, where he was studying, in Toronto, would be much less than what was from Delhi to that place. So we went. So I shifted to Dubai because of slightly more money and because of logistically it was much better. And that Sangeeta was being offered a principalship there and I was being offered a directorship there. And of course the school was very good, as you were there for the opening ceremony.
I was the icing on the cake.
Yeah. And it was a glamorous, Dubai is a very fascinating city, beautiful city, lovely food, very,
Yeah, you've
very
described
good,
the food in
very
great
nice,
detail
very-
there,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
restaurants in great detail.
Yeah,
So you did answer my question when I asked you.
Yeah,
did
sorry,
you,
I lost the right.
no, you did say that you're writing a blog, so you sort of got connected with all that, and then you wrote all the food episodes in Dubai. You've written about the restaurants and all. So I wanted to know, how do you remember all that? So you answered that question of mine.
About remembering Dubai?
Yes, also about
Ratna,
restaurants.
if I meet you after 15 years, I mean, say, if you expect that I'll forget that she's Ratna Manucha, and if I
So then I
forget
have a
that,
space
if I
in your
forget
next
that she's
book.
the wife of Colonel Manucha, I mean, that she stays in Dalanwala and she's related to Asha Bakshi or Iba Dillon. I mean, it would be. Then I'm a brain dead man. I think it's not something exceptional.
Coming to my next
So I
question.
don't have to remember.
Thank
because
you. So that means I have a place in your next book, in the sequel.
Yeah.
Yes?
Sorry?
Please remember, I'm going to be in his next book.
chapter on her in the
One
next
chapter.
I
One
don't-
chapter on your next
on
book.
her in the next book.
Yeah. My next book is already nearly in under print. It's called Back to the Pavilion. So definitely
Yeah,
you find
you
it,
showed me the
because,
cover
it's about
yesterday.
Dehradun
Yes.
people,
So
yeah.
tell me something. I think we'll have one last question, and we'll open it for the audience, because I'm sure there are many people
Yeah,
wanting to ask
yeah.
questions. What I really wanted to know is, you've summed up the book beautifully in the last chapter. But I cannot help but wonder, you must have left out some things to avoid ruffling some feathers, some masala bits, some spicy tidbits. How about letting us on some secrets today?
Just
About
not one-
anything.
yeah. Just not one thing, Ratna. I think
Uh.
so. I've left out a number of things because life is. In a day, there are so many things that are packed. So it's impossible.
The
to
naughty
write
bits,
it.
the naughty
Yeah,
bits.
And my life has been a masala all his life. Now, how much can you write? And sometimes I feel that I should have been a writer from the age of 20 years of age, so that I could have written something. But nothing is going to be enough, because life
It's never
life
enough.
challenges you on a day-to-day basis. So it's not. There are. I've written as much of masala as that you would like to. I've written about my affair with
Annalise.
with a German, and I've written about my night, an aborted night at a streetwalker in Paris. I've written about people passing away. I've written about my son. I've written about my daughter, about my wife. I've written about Sandhya. I've written about my chairmans. I've written about the cities. I've written about
Yeah,
foreign-
it's
foreign
quite
co-
an honest,
Yeah.
no holds barred sort
Yeah,
of a
so
book.
I think so.
Definitely.
My publishers were saying that you exceeded 70,000 words. They don't want you to exceed more than 55,000 words, because that becomes economically unviable for them to print the book.
Right.
So there's so much, but maybe my second book you might be able to see.
Can we open it for the audience? Anybody for questions for Mr. Kain? I'm sure there are plenty. Yes? Mics? Are there mics for people, please?
Could you come here and
Come here, come here.
Come here and speak, beta.
Sir, my name is Jyotarpan. So I would like to ask a question. Are you satisfied that you spent your life in schools? Like, was there a particular moment where you felt like you could have liked something else better? Or were you like, no, I was made for this?
It's a good question.
What is your name?
Jyot Arpan.
Jyot?
Arpan.
Jyot Arpan. And from which school are you?
St. Joseph's Academy.
Wonderful question.
I asked you the question because I thought your English was very good, and mostly people. The name is slightly complicated. Jyot. I call
Jyot
you
Arpan.
Jyot. I'll
Ha,
call you
sure,
Jyot.
sure.
I wouldn't do. There was one incident which made me feel that I was in the right job, and this was when I took over a DPS Ahmedabad. So as a principal, I used to move around the school And during the milk break, I would move around because during assembly, you don't meet children because they go off to classes. So I used to move around during the milk break and see children would offer me something to eat and all that. And we would discuss many things. Sometimes there were issues, some boy would come and complain, "Ki aisa hai, aise." There was one incident in which there was a small little girl. I mean, I would think that she was in the 3rd or the 4th class, maybe the 3rd class. So she came up to me and she looked at me and she said, "Sir, are you God?" So I looked at her and I said, "No, no." I said, "No." So she says, "No, you must be God." So I said, "Why? Why do you say that?" She said, my mother told me that all teachers are like gods." So I said, she was a very young girl, so I said, "No, no, but she must have told you that you can not see God or you can't touch God. So you can touch me." So she looked at me, she says, "Can I touch you?" So I said, "Yes, please." So I held her hand like that, and then she looked at me and she said, "Sir, you're God."
That sums it up beautifully.
I know I'm not a God, I'm rather a devil. But when a small child tells you that, you know, it is something which is, it's so powerful. It's something which I don't think so in any profession somebody can tell you that. Maybe as a doctor somebody can tell you that. But if a school child, and that also very small true school child, tells you that you're God, then I just don't want to do anything else. I mean, why should I want to do anything else in which a child thinks I'm a God when I'm not a God?
Any more questions? We have very little time, so please make it quick. Yes, sir, please go ahead, go ahead.
Again, in one of the articles, in one of your articles, there was a mention of your connection with Burma, a Burma connection. So could you just touch upon that also? Because I have a Burma connection sitting next to me, my better half. Yeah.
So, yes, I was born in Burma. And in fact, all of us were born in Burma. We had 6 siblings. And my father was a civil surgeon there. And we went all around Burma because my father was posted from one district to another. So I was born in the hills, which is now in the fireplace in politics near Manipur, a district called Phalam, in the Chin Hills. But I do remember when we had to leave it, we left from a place called Rangoon, which was the capital, Yangon. And but I have very strong visuals of Rangoon and of Burma and of Khawswe. I even could speak a smattering of Burmese, like if your wife understands.
Nekaula.
I would say, "Napyodi Samela, we would like to have a banana."
Yes. Nekaundala.
So it's, I still have very strong feeling. There's another Joyita who's, yes, Alok. Alok is a very dear friend of mine, a retired DGP and a very active.
There's a mic here.
Kulbhushan, this is a question which should be answered very honestly. A little girl called you God. Did anybody else call you God?
Did anybody else call you God?
Called you God, did anyone?
No, but Alok, I don't think so. It's very common for people to call people like me gods, unless you're somebody like Swamis and all that. But I would suspect that people didn't think I was a devil, and being in education field, I think so a lot of people don't think human beings can be gods. But I would certainly love it if you would call me a god, because that would be a very, very major, coming from a...
Somebody wanted to ask a question.
No, Kulbhushan, I don't want to accuse of being God.
Mr. Chandok, wanted to ask a question. Next, you. We have 5 minutes.
Hello.
I think so. There's a.
Good morning, sir.
I think so.
Yeah,
Sanjeev has
please
come
go
here
ahead.
running short on
I
time.
think I will be the last question of mine. You have spoken about your difficulties in your career during running various schools, and we just heard about the Bhopal that incident of 14th August wala. But what I want to ask is, what was your most difficult administrative difficulty in your during entire career, and how did you overcome it? Particularly pertaining to administration, I'm talking about.
Okay. Praveen is it's a very eminent old boy, president of St. Joseph's Old Boy Association, and been a president for many, many years. And sometimes he tells me I've been a head boy. So sir, मैं तो आप भी तो head boy थे. Being a head boy of 1 year in his school is much different than being the old boy president of a school that's 90 years old. Well, coming back to the question, that the most difficult part of my career, in my school, administrative career, I think so it was my illness. I've written about it in the book.
Read.
In the year December 2006. Here was a very good sportsman. I used very good squash player, very good cricketer, played for the university and better than all the boys. I could still score centuries in the staff versus student matches. I could beat everybody in squash. And then all of a sudden I fell ill. And one night something happened to me, and the next time I woke up, I woke up after a coma of 3 days. And then later on I was told that I had to be airlifted in an ambulance to the Apollo hospital from Jaipur, and that I was on nearly the ventilator tube had been put in to my lungs. And my heart rates had dropped to 27, 28, and that I was dying. They would say I was dying. I was as close to death as I could be. Well, I came out of that, and but the difficult problem was this, as coming back to Pravita, it was very difficult for me to adjust to a new life, because here I was having so much of pride in my legs, which could chase a small squash ball all over the court with so much of power. I could run quick singles. And when I got out of my bed, when they wanted me to walk, my sister was there, and she told me, she says, why don't you put your arms around the shoulders? So I said, no. I thought that, I would be able to walk. The moment I stepped onto the floor, I just collapsed. It was as if my knees were on jelly. To fight back from there, to get back into it, I lost hearing in 1 ear. I couldn't recognize people. I had to sit in meetings where I could not hear. Then I had to do things which required a lot of energy. I was building schools. I was going to build later on. So to fight back, I just want to tell all youngsters who are here, who are sitting, and even people who are not so young, that when you fall very ill, it's not the final. You can take it as the first round. You'll fall ill 5, 6 times, but you must never say die. That's the lesson I've learned. It's very difficult, but I think that was a very, very difficult call for me to take. And how to come back, how to adjust, and yet remain normal. And I think so. I did that pretty well.
Absolutely
Marvelous.
wonderful
Thank
that you stepped out of it, and here's looking to more better times. And may the ink in your pen never run out, Kulbhushan Kain. May you keep writing, and may there be readers and readers galore for you. Thank you so much. And let's just inaugurate the book, because we haven't yet done that. So can we just do that, please, quickly? And
Indu Didi? Indu Didi, come. Pratik. Come, Pratik.
yeah, we'll just open it.
And please buy your own book. as it is mine.
Thank you, everyone.
And to all of you, why you must read this book is because it is Mr. Kain, your own son of Dehra Dun, and one of the, if you turn the pages and you read through the chapters, you will see extreme grit. There's a lot of humor. We are building Mr. Kain as this demigod, but there's a lot of humor. There is a lot of failure. There's a lot of triumph, tragedy. Everything that can make a book successful, something, an outpouring of the heart is here. A very precious book. So please read yourself and please give it to your friends to read.
One question, I think, sorry.
Sorry, I did have a question, but I just want to express my feelings for Mr. Kain, because last value of words I met Mr. Kain in, he has inspired me with all you said at the last, and what he said about his illness, etc., is really inspiring me to really follow him. I am a staunch follower of Garhwal Post, and I read every blog and article of Mr. Kain, and I am so happy having shifted from Delhi to Dehradun. I am an adjunct professor basically of travel tourism management. The first session also was very nice. But thank you so much. I mean, from what you said about Dehradun, it has really enlivened my life here, having shifted permanently to Dehradun from Delhi now. Thank you very much.
Huh?
Thank you, ma'am. Awasthi.
I would like to, in particular, thank Sanjeev sir. He's one of the finest. Sanjeev sir, आप आइए एक मिनट. If you know Sanjeev very well and if you get into his mind, you will realize how little one knows. And the governor put it up yesterday very correctly when they were reading out. He's an MBA, he's a doctorate, he's an ex-IAS officer, he's a chief secretary, he's a builder of the. So the governor asked him, आप क्या नहीं कर सकते हैं?
हम Sugarcane और Cane को नहीं मिला सकते. वो आपकी खासियत.
So thank you so much, sir. It was always, you've always been very encouraging and is a wonderful, wonderful human being.
May we request Mr. Upendra Arora ji? Aye, please.
Aye. Upendra Arora ji bhi aye, and then one photograph with Praveen also later on.
Upendra ji will hand
I request Upendra sir and Sanjeev sir to kindly felicitate. But sir, please, please.
Dehradun is not complete without the Natraj bookshop.
ये मेरे लिए
आपके लिए sir.
Thank you so much. The legendary Natraj bookshop, Upendra ji is a legend of.
And if the proof of how Mr. Kain's life has spilled out of the book into each one of us, there's the Jaipur, where Mr. Kain was the director, that Jaipur family is here. So you can imagine the young Kulbhushan from Dehradun to everybody's heart.
I'm sorry, but I completely missed out on you. I don't know how I could have missed out on such a attractive crowd sitting right at the back there. Huh? Thank you so much. I mean, I just didn't know that you were here.
Why don't you come here, Mini Pale, for a picture?
Mini, Pale, Mukta and Anjana, thank you so much. I know you've traveled overnight. Even I didn't know you were coming. All the way from Jaipur, thank you so much. You started in the morning? You took a flight from Jaipur to reach here? Thank you so much. That's friends.
Let's have this picture.
Track you.
the cover of my second book. I think it's something just mind-blowing. I mean, it is my eternal debt to him.
Upinder sir, I request you to kindly felicitate the guests.
Thank you so much. We'll be very kind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am Awasthi. Thank you, ma'am Manucha. Kain, sir. Thank you. May I urge the patrons to please pick up a copy of the book and have it signed by the author. Friends, please make sure that you've registered yourself at the reception desk. All the registrants are eligible for a lucky draw twice a day. And if you would like to contribute to this festival, kindly scan any support WOW code at one of the locations. All donations are